Welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. With the markets at record highs, all eyes will be on whether we can see some follow-through buying on the upside. The Nifty implied opening suggests a big opening this morning, up almost 90-odd points. And it's a big week. It's the last trading week before we head into the union budget. But we have lots of stocks to talk about, so let's get straight to it. Our research team is joining in with a list of top 10 stocks. Reema's here first up to tell us about HCLTech and how the numbers look. Reema, over to you.
So, HCLTech's numbers are slightly ahead of street expectations. Revenues have fallen by 1.6%, but the street was anticipating a 2% decline. The reason for the revenue drop is because one of their large projects went offshore and 2 annual productivity benefits get passed on to customers. Margin decline of 50 basis points too was slightly ahead of street expectation. But remember, the stock had run up on Friday with a monster, IT rally that we had on Friday. So perhaps some of the good news is priced in. And 2, the profit beat is courtesy of one-off other income. So profits went up 6.8%, but it's aided by an other income. The company's maintained its full-year revenue guidance of 3 to 5%. They've said Q2 will be a growth quarter. They've also maintained full-year margins of 18 to 19%. The brokerage view is mixed. CLSA downgrades, but Motilal Oswal says HCLTech is their top pick, kept a target price of 18.50. Nomura raises EPS estimates.
Thanks a lot for that, Reema. Well, in fact, we'll get a conversation going with the management of HCLTech on the Q1 numbers as well as the outlook at 9:30 a.m. later today. Well, the other set of numbers that came out over the weekend was DMart. The valuation-wise, the stock is not cheap, but the numbers look pretty okay, I think. Mangalam, tell us more.
Well, no problems with the numbers. In fact, some of the internals are actually quite strong. For DMart, we already knew what the standalone revenue growth would be. So the key thing that everyone was looking at in terms of numbers were the gross margins. And there has been an improvement both year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter. The company said that the product mix has increased as, contribution from general merchandise has increased as well for them. So that's important. The EBITDA, however, the margins were limited largely because there were higher employee costs and other expenses. And DMart Ready, that's the second thing that we were watching. How is the online business doing? Out there, the revenue growth was 27%, and they saw a mild break even on the EBITDA as well. So overall, revenue growth of 18.5%, EBITDA growth of 18%, margins at around 8.7%, and the net profit grew at around 18% as well. And the company said the operating costs have largely gone up due to continuing effort on improving service levels and building capabilities for the future. The only thing that the street will eye now is the pace of store addition and the rate at which the company keeps on opening new stores. So that's something we'll watch out for. Improvement in gross margins is good, and the fact that they are spending on improving service levels and building capabilities is a positive as well. See mild green today because the valuations limit much upside on DMart right now.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Mangalam. Let's go across to Ekta now. She's tracking Aurobindo Pharma, Cipla and Lupin this morning. Ekta, over to you.
Thanks for that. Well, I'll start with Aurobindo, which is in focus because they will be considering a buyback on July 18th. They have a gross cash of around 6,500 crores on their books, net cash of around 150 odd crores. Analysts say that the buyback is because, their Pen G capex is now complete. But they're speculating that the quantum of the buyback won't be too much. It could probably even be limited to around 1,000 to 1,500 odd crores. Cipla, their Kurkum facility is classified as a VAI, voluntary action indicated, was inspected by the US FDA in May, and it was a routine inspection. Expect that stock in the green. Lupin, their Dabhasa facility in Gujarat has received an EIR from the US FDA, and the plant was inspected from April 8th to April 12th with no observations. It's used for API and CDMO operations.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So Aurobindo, Cipla and Lupin in focus. Aurobindo considering a buyback as well. But there are some more pharma stocks that you're looking at, Ekta, this morning?
Well, yes, I'm looking at Piramal because the US FDA conducted a pre-approval inspection of their Ahmedabad facility, and that was completed with 0 observations. Expect the stock to be in the green, and they have received a no action indicated status. So things are all clear for them. Alembic, they've received a tentative US FDA nod for Uptravi generic or Selexipag, which is basically an injection used to treat high blood pressure. Company says they're the sole first applicant and could be eligible for 180-day exclusivity. Could expect the stock to be in the green. But remember that it's a tentative approval that they've received.
All right, Ekta, thank you very much for that. IRADA first quarter numbers. Abhishek is here with detail. Abhishek, morning.
Well, Prashant, it was a strong AUM growth. However, operationally, it was a weak quarter with reference to PNL. And, provision write-back has hit the part this time around. So, AUM growth was at close to 34% YOY and about 6% sequentially. Quarter-on-quarter, gross NPA ratio has improved to 2.2% versus 2.4% in the previous quarter, and net NPA ratio has also improved to 0.95% versus 0.99% in the previous quarter. Net interest margin has expanded both YOY and quarter-on-quarter, so 3.29 compares to 3.23% in the same quarter last year and about 2.85% in the previous quarter. So the NII growth is at 37.5% YOY and about close to 5.5% sequentially. However, the operating profits have declined by a massive 8.9% quarter-on-quarter. There is a provision write back of about 30 crore this quarter, which compares to an expense of about close to 9-10 crores in the previous quarter. So PAT is up 30.25% YOY and about 13.7% sequentially thanks to this provision write back. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Abhishek. Well, let's hop across to Sonal, who's here to tell us about Sunteck Realty. They had an update out there, and PTC is looking at raising some funds. Morning, Sonal.
Good morning, Nigel. Let me start with Sunteck Realty. 2 consecutive quarters of good performance in their pre-sales. It had been lagging so far, but this time around, pre-sales are up 30%. Their collections have gone up by 19% as well. And it's a sequential recovery that the company has seen in terms of collections as well. For PTC Industries, they will be raising 700 crore rupees. This is via QIP. The board approved it over the weekend. So these 2 stocks will be on our radar today.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Well, here's a quick recap of our top stocks. Stocks with positive news flow: HCLTech, Avenue Supermarts, IRDA, Aurobindo Pharma, Cipla, Lupin, Piramal Pharma, Alembic Pharma, Sunteck Realty and PTC Industries. While there are no stocks on our radar with negative news flow, but Manisha Gupta is joining in for a roundup of all the action from the commodity markets and all that we've seen overnight. Manisha, good morning.
Well, thank you for that. I'll start with the crude oil prices, where we have seen prices decline. Commodities actually have gone into a bit of a profit-taking, as we saw in the previous week, and the start of this week is no different. So after 4 weeks of gains, the crude prices fell more than a percentage point in the previous week, and that is what you are looking at in the markets right now as well. But, having said that, JP Morgan, Citi, and Bank of America, all these banks believe that the crude oil prices are headed towards $90 a barrel in this quarter, given the backdrop of hurricanes and interest rate cut expectation and the fact that you could be looking at a deficit in case of crude in this quarter itself. Having said that, the metal prices, they have started slightly on a positive note, and this is after China industrial production data. Export numbers have come in on the stronger side, while, of course, the second quarter GDP numbers have come in slightly on the weaker side. But even with that, most of the metal prices, including copper, zinc, iron ore, steel, silver even, have started Asia slightly on a positive note.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Manisha. Well, let's do one thing. Let's take a quick commercial break. On the other side, market expert Prakash Diwan will join in to discuss fundamental stock analysis. We'll also be joined by Prem Kishan Gupta, the Chairman and Managing Director at Gateway Distriparks, to discuss their business outlook. Stay tuned.